Hello and welcome to our webinar today. We're here to talk a little bit about tuition savings. So welcome. We are going to talk about a few nationwide programs across the United States, opportunities for you as a student, or if you're a parent or family member joining us, opportunities for your students to save a little bit of money on college tuition. So to start us off, I'm here as Jonathan Gowan. I work with the New England Board of Higher Education as the director of our tuition break program, which is a regional tuition savings program serving the residents of New England. I will say that this presentation as well was developed in partnership with my colleague, Ray Bergman Gallegos from the Western Interstate Commission of Higher Education, also known as WICHE. So you'll hear me talk a little bit about the programs that exist in the Western United States as well. But I want to do an appropriate shout out to my colleague, Ray, for all of her help in developing this webinar. So before we jump into some information about tuition savings, I first want to talk a little bit about who I am, what kind of work does my organization do, does Ray's organization do? Why does this matter to you, either as a student or as a parent or family member, or perhaps even as a high school counselor? So the first thing to know is that there are four really critical organizations that exist around the United States. The New England Board of Higher Education, that's my organization, also known as NEBHE. We are one of them, but there's also my colleague Ray's organization, which is WICHE in the West, the Midwestern Higher Education Compact, also known as MEC in the Midwest, and then down south, there's SREB, or the Southern Regional Education Board. Now, who we are regional interstate compact organizations. Now, what that means is that we are quasi-public organizations that exist to serve our particular region, operating between state lines to serve the public on various higher education issues. Primarily, one of our most significant endeavors is really to support the general public in saving money on college tuition. So really, that's going to be the point of what we talk about today. And I want to get into that just a little bit. But I also want to say that we do quite a bit of work across the whole realm of education and even workforce development. In fact, here at NEBHE, not only is our tuition break program critical for saving saving millions of dollars in tuition every year, but we're also very active in workforce development. We've been active in the state of Connecticut this last year to help develop the digital talent ecosystem. We've also been working across the entire region of New England on our Commission on the Future of Higher Education Behind Bars, supporting higher education within the United States prison system. So we as organizations, we do a lot of work to advocate for the public, to advocate for higher education issues. And so that, I think, is really some critical background for you to understand who we are and what we do. Now, I also want to mention as well that one of the very common questions that I get from students and parents is, how does this work? Where does this money come from? The most important thing that I can say is that we are public service organizations. Therefore, we do receive public support from the various states that make up our membership. So here in New England, you'll hear me talk about this a little bit more. There are 6 states that make up the region, 6 states that are a part of the New England Board. Each of them contributes a little bit of money to help us function, as well as primarily to support discounted tuition for students who are studying at our public universities. So that's a little bit of background about us. Also, critical organizations really focused on collaboration and bringing people together, providing resources across state lines. Now, moving on, I want to get into really the meat of what we want to talk about today, really to give you the resources that you need to figure out if these opportunities will work for you and ways that you can save money on college. So when we talk about the savings programs going forward, you may hear various terms fly around: tuition reciprocity, tuition savings, tuition exchange. Essentially, it all really means the same thing. All of the programs we're going to talk about today are really for students who are interested in studying outside of their home state, but within their local region. So the whole point of how we operate is really to provide discounted tuition at out-of-state institutions, and really, again, with this public service focus in mind. Now, this is important because we, as organizations, we're really primarily focused on making sure that, in light of how expensive college is becoming, that folks like you have opportunities to earn a degree at a reasonable rate. Now, additionally, another major part of our mission as organizations is really to ensure that we are supporting students, not just in getting an affordable education, but getting an affordable and relevant education as well. So the discounts that we're going to be talking about, the savings that's available to you, are primarily going to be focused around high demand and highly specialized academic fields. Areas of study in which the odds of you being employed and earning a great salary are certainly very high. So it's a key part of our mission to provide both that affordable education and focus on getting people into professional careers that work for them. Now, I'll also say that these programs are particularly relevant when we look at a lot of the trends around where students go to college and what they're looking for. Most students these days, especially in light of COVID, study within 100 miles of their home. Now, for many students, that means that the opportunity to study across state lines at an out-of-state public institution is very high. And so that's why it's one of the reasons why these programs are so important, and that you should understand this information, because the odds are pretty strong for most Americans that you'll have the opportunity to study at an out-of-state institution. And frankly, why not do that at a discounted tuition rate if you can? Now, as we move forward, I'm actually going to start diving in region by region into the specific programs that serve various parts of the US. But I do want to say a couple of final things before I move on to that. Firstly, I do want to communicate that these discounts are primarily for students who are looking to study outside of their home state. If you want to go to a public institution that's in your home state, you're already going to be receiving in-state tuition. It's one of the best deals that you can get. And so these programs are not particularly relevant if you're in that situation. But again, if you're looking to go out of state, it's a really wonderful opportunity for you to save a little bit of money. Additionally, I will say, although the process does vary a bit by region and by organization running these programs, the barrier to entry in order to access these discounts is really extraordinarily low. We almost all of our programs function and give access to students not through an application. We don't require anything on behalf of the student in order for you to discount or to receive the discount. Primarily, all of this is done through the specific college's admission application. So all you really need to do is work with the institutions that you're interested in to ensure that all of this works. So there's no separate application required, no additional paperwork, none of that. It's really an incredibly straightforward process. Now, to begin to dive into each of the specific programs that exist around the US, we're going to start our journey in my region. We're going to start it in New England. And the first program we'll talk about is the one that I oversee, which is Tuition Break. Now, here at the New England Board of Higher Ed, our Tuition Break program serves all 6 states of New England. So those are Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Connecticut, Vermont, and Rhode Island. And the way that our program works is that we are actually active at every single one of the public universities here in New England, all of the community colleges and all of the four-year institutions. So it is remarkably accessible across the entire region. Additionally, as New England is it's a small region with many small states, it's certainly a very transitory region as well. It's very easy to travel around. It's very easy to study out of state. And it's one of the reasons that we're proud to have this program. Within Tuition Break, there are over 2,500 academic programs that are available at discounted tuition prices. And we do have 2 program categories. So the way that eligibility for the discount works within Tuition Break, it depends a little bit on the program. Some of our programs are classified as specialized, which means that a discount is available to students who don't have this program accessible in their home state. So, for example, if you wanted to study mechanical engineering but it wasn't available in your home state, you could qualify for the Tuition Break discount at an out-of-state institution within New England that offers that program. So many of our programs are categorized as specialized. Now, we also have a flexible category of programs, which is relatively new for us and growing rapidly. Institutions that participate in flexible actually offer their academic programs at a discounted rate to all residents of New England as well. More and more of our institutions are doing this, and it's pretty exciting for us as it's allowing more and more of the general public to participate and to receive the discount. Now, moving on from Tuition Break, we're going to head south. We're going to head to the Southern Regional Education Board's Academic Common Market program. Now, SREB or the South, the region that SREB serves is much larger than New England. They include most of the states from Delaware and Maryland all the way down to just about to Texas. Most of those states do participate in the academic common market. 15 of them do. However, there are a couple that do not. So it is particularly important if you do live in the South, if you're a resident of a southern state, to visit the website for the academic common market and to confirm that your state does participate. If it does so happen that you live in a state that does not participate in a program like this, all is not lost. Once we work through each of these programs, I'm actually going to talk about other opportunities that exist for you. And so don't lose faith. There are many opportunities that exist for you to save money on tuition. But back to the academic common market. I will say that their program categories are specifically available to students who do not have access to a particular academic program within their home state. So it is specialized in that way. All in all, they have over 2,200 academic programs that are available at discounted tuition. And they also have a partner program that exists that they operate called the Regional Contract Program, which is also a tuition discounting opportunity focused on students who want to study a major within the professional health sphere. So if you're somebody who's interested in pursuing a program, perhaps in nursing or in any other health-related field, the Regional Contract Program could be the right fit for you. I definitely encourage you to visit their website. And I'll say as an aside, below this video in the description, you will see linked a PDF with helpful links and resources capturing all of these critical programs and their corresponding URLs. So check out that document. That will direct you where to go for some additional, more specific information. Next up, we're going to begin to head west, beginning in the Midwest with MEC's Midwestern Student Exchange Program. Now, this program is accessible within 8 of the Midwestern states. Once again, like SREB, the MEC includes membership across most of the Midwestern region. However, not all of the states participate in the MSEP program. So I do recommend check out their website, see what is available and accessible for you. But again, we'll talk a little bit later about opportunities that exist for students if you live in a state that doesn't participate in a program like this. Now, like many of our other programs, the institutions that agree to participate in MEC's MSEP program, they discount tuition to well below, or at least at maximum, 150% of the in-state rate. Now, while most of our discounts do work to bring students, all of our discounts rather, bring the cost of tuition down below out-of-state tuition, most of them still remain slightly higher than in-state tuition. However, we are quite proud of all of our programs for saving families still thousands of dollars a year. So it certainly is very critical to participate in these programs if you are able. I'll also say that the MSEP program is unique in that they include not just public institutions, but private institutions as well. So participating private institutions actually discount their tuition by 10% as well. So to see a list of participating private institutions, I definitely recommend check out our helpful links document, visit MEC's website to learn a little bit about those institutions that participate as well. Lastly, we're going to head all the way west now to WICHE's programs. WICHE, again, is the Western Interstate Commission on Higher Education, based out of Colorado. They include 18 states in the Western United States, as well as several of the freely associated territories and states in the Pacific, like Guam and Samoa. So the programs that are run by WICHE in the realm of tuition discounting, they actually have a few programs that are available. Primarily, the two are the WUI, which is the Western Undergraduate Exchange Program, and then WRGP, which is the Western Regional Graduate Program as well. Now, each of these function very similarly in that it's a discount for students who want to study out of state. The critical thing about their program, or the critical thing here to understand, is that WUI is specifically for students who want to study, who are undergraduates. So you're looking to pursue a degree at either a community college or a four-year institution, while WRGP, of course, as it suggests, is focused entirely on the graduate population. Now, given WICHE's massive territory that it covers, they have many institutions that participate. In fact, 162 institutions across the Western United States participate in the Western Undergraduate Exchange, while 66 institutions participate in the Western Regional Graduate Program. So extreme and impressive range across the Western United States. And like MEC's MSEP program, colleges and universities opt in and participate and may charge up to 150% of the in-state rate. So again, not quite all the way down to in-state tuition, but again, a significant discount for students for students who want to study out of state. Now, I do want to revisit one of the things that I said earlier before I move on, and that is to say that like most of our programs function so far as to access them, you simply need to apply to a participating institution. We don't require any separate applications as our organizations. It's really a matter of applying to the institutions to which you are interested and then communicating with that institution to ensure that you receive the discount. Which brings me to one of my most important pieces of advocacy for you to keep in mind, which is that as you're working through this process, I definitely recommend do your homework, do your due diligence, ask questions. These programs can be confusing. There are many layers to how these work and how students become eligible, especially around academic program and residency eligibility. And so please take the time, do some due diligence, reach out to us and ensure that you understand how these programs work for your region. Now, I'll also say as well here that another important thing to know is that these programs are regionally serving. So for example, the New England program here, Tuition Break, is specifically for residents of New England who are studying at New England institutions. The same goes for all of the other three programs as well. They are meant for students that live in those regions and intend to study in those regions. If you're a resident of New England, for example, looking to study out west in Colorado, California, unfortunately, you would not be able to access these programs. So they are regionally serving. But again, like I said before, we're going to be talking very soon about opportunities and resources that do exist for students who may not qualify for these discounted tuition rates. Now, moving on, I finally want to fulfill that promise that I've been making all along and talk about some additional other resources. So the first two things that I'll talk about here are state level resources available to all residents of their particular state. And then I want to talk about other opportunities, things for you to be on the lookout for as a student doing their research or as a parent or family member doing their research about college affordability. So to think about state level educational resources, it's really critical to know, some of you may know already, that at most of the states in the within most of the states in the United States, there is a directly state level or maybe quasi state level organization or agency that works to help provide students assistance as they go on to higher education. In the state of Pennsylvania, my home state where I grew up, is an organization called PHEA, which is the Pennsylvania Higher Education Assistance Agency. In the state of Massachusetts, which is now where I live, where NEBHE is based out of, we have a great organization called MEFA, which is the Massachusetts Educational Financing Authority. Out west, there's also the Washington Student Achievement Council, which serves the citizens of Washington. Now, within our helpful links document that will be provided in addition to this video, there is a link to a webpage on the National Association of Student Financial Aid Officers website, or NASFA, which has an interactive map of the entire US, which you can click on to see. You can see the organization that serves your home state. So I will say these are active in most of the states in the US. They're great agencies that work to provide resources ranging from student loans to grants to scholarships to just general financial aid help to students who are beginning the college process. So I definitely recommend see what's available in your home state, as there's lots of excellent resources here provided by each of these organizations. Now, additionally, another key thing for you to be aware of and to be on the lookout for are institution-specific opportunities. And I bring these up now, especially in tandem with our state agencies, because there are some states in the US that unfortunately don't have access to the programs that I'm talking about now, be they tuition break or the Western Interstate Exchange. There are certain states that don't participate. For example, there are 3 states in the union that are not a part of a compact organization like ours. Those are Pennsylvania, New York, and New Jersey. So anyone who is a resident of those states know that unfortunately access to the regional savings programs I've talked about is not available. However, what I'm talking about now, both the state level finance authorities as well as institution specific opportunities that I'll talk about in a moment, they are accessible to you. And I think that's important for you to know and for you to do some research and due diligence on as you look around. So for example, the state universities of Connecticut, they offer reduced tuition to New York and New Jersey residents for sure. The University of Maine also recently, well, a few years ago, launched what they call their flagship Promise Scholarship, which is essentially an opportunity to match the in-state tuition of your home state to attend the University of Maine. What I don't have included on this slide, but is a very pertinent announcement, is that the state universities of New York, also SUNY, they recently announced this fall that they would also be matching the in-state tuition of many surrounding states, I believe 8 surrounding states in the Northeast region of the US. So I mention all of these not because they are part of our program. They're not our regional savings programs or separate entities. However, I bring these up because they are also still relevant resources for you all to be aware of, especially if it turns out that you're in a state that doesn't have access to a regional savings program. These opportunities will still exist for you. And so it's certainly great for you as you continue to do your research, as you continue to explore college opportunities and you think about the financial aid process. It's important to know all of the resources that are available and to communicate with your admission officers as you go. Now, as we begin to bring our webinar to a close today, I do want to just make a very quick plug here, specifically for the New England region and for Tuition Break. I've been working very closely with GoToCollegeFairs. So quick shout out, a major thank you to the GoToCollegeFairs organization, as I've been working closely with them to develop a platform for students within our region to explore opportunities that exist within Tuition Break, to check out our institutions. Even if you don't live in New England, but you're interested in a New England institution, check us out, follow this QR code, because we'll be populating into that platform lots of really excellent educational content, both about programs like Tuition Break, but also about the financial aid process, about the college search process, really about how to make your college experience as successful as possible. So be sure to check that out. Let us know what we can do for you. And I'll also point out that a link to this will also be provided with this video as well. So be on the lookout for that on GoToCollegeFairs website. Now, I'm going to bring this to a close tonight or today and just share our contact information for both myself here on behalf of the New England Board of Higher Education, as well as my colleague, Ray Bergman-Gallegos, who is a major instrumental role in putting this presentation together and capturing this information. So I'll leave this slide up for just a moment and offer one last parting word of advice as we wrap up, which is to say, revisiting something that I've spoken to already a bit so far, which is, if you don't know, ask the question. I can't stress enough, as I said earlier, these programs, they're highly technical, they're fairly nuanced with many layers to them. And I know that this process as a whole, the admission process, the financial aid process, it is confusing. So if there's anything that we can do for you, if there's any way that we can be of assistance or help, please do not hesitate to reach out to either myself or my colleague Ray, or even the admission counselor at the institutions that you're interested in. We are here to support you. We want to help. So please let us know what we can do. Let us know if there are any questions or any information that we can provide. But I do sincerely appreciate you watching this video, learning a bit more about tuition savings programs, and I wish you all the best on your college search.